You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
I'm here today with Sam Whisnant. Sam, welcome to She's the Business podcast. Really glad to have you here today.
Hello, Jessica. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, me too. Now, your business, Systems with Sam, obviously systems are your thing. But before we dive into the kinds of systems and let's make something that seems unsexy, really sexy, because how good can systems be for your business? But I'd like to just hear a little bit about, what you do in your business specifically and who do you help?
Yeah, of course. I am Sam and I run Systems with Sam, which is a done for you operations agency. And so basically what I do is I go into client facing businesses and I help them set up systems. I help them set up the processes that they need to help organize their content, manage their clients, onboard more clients, and help start hiring and managing their team. And so they can just have a bit more ease and freedom in their business as they're growing and scaling.
Yes, amazing. So what are the kind of systems? I mean, system is such a broad word. What kinds of systems are we really talking about here? Do you have a top three that you absolutely work with all the time and that's what you're really focusing on and helping people with?
Yeah, I love what you said about how sexy can systems really get, because this is the thing. Yeah. Systems are very, very intimidating, I think, to a lot of people and to me as well at first when I first was diving into the online space. But systems are really just how you do what you do. It's the process for how you're running your business. So a lot of times I hear people come to me and they tell me, I don't have any system set up. And I'm like, okay, well, you're working with clients, you're posting content. Maybe you even have a VA. You do have systems. They're just not streamlined. They're probably not working as well for you. And for me, I really like to focus on what I kind of call the foundational systems of your business. And this is where I see people really need the most help, especially when they are first starting to grow a lot and get a lot of traction in their business. And that is client processes, client experience, content processes and content systems, and team processes, or really preparing your business to be able to hire a team and delegate with ease.
I love that. So client processes, meaning this is when you're fulfilling on what it is that you have promised. Your content process is really front end, right? The marketing, what you're putting out there and just having a system to make that less stressful. Your team systems for smooth running of your team. Yeah, I really think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, those would be so essential, really with any business. And once you have got to that point, team might be an actual team you've hired, but it might also be external contractors and things like that. So having processes with your VAs or whoever you've got helping you just help your business to run more smoothly. Love that. So where do we see, if you were okay, I've got a business here and these are the essentials that we really need to get up and running. Where do you start? What's the most bang for your buck? And if you want to dive in and tell me, why do you love this so much? Let's make this system sexy. Let's bring the vibe in.
So, bring the vibe back to systems. Yeah. I think for me, I just am one of those people that loves optimizing. Even in my personal life, I'm like, how can I kind of do the most in the less amount of time with the least amount of energy and really make the most out of, my days and my life and whatever I want to really be doing. And really with systems really help you create consistency in your business. And consistency is such a key piece to running your business. And at first, when you're first starting on a business, you're going through this winging stage of you're just trying things, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. This is a very important stage because you're figuring out what works and what doesn't work for you. But a lot of times the back end of the business gets really on the back burner and we're just going. We're like, okay, we're just taking action. And then we hit a point where that action starts to pay off. We're starting to see some traction. We're starting to see some growth. And then the back end kind of creeps back up and it's like, okay, you're growing, that's great, but I can't hold this. I cannot sustain what you are trying to do or the goals that you are trying to hit. And this is where people really start to feel almost like they're drowning in their business, because now they have all these clients, or they, have been posting so much content, or maybe they've really started to expand, where they started when they were just posting on Instagram, and now they're posting on Instagram, LinkedIn, and now they want to start a podcast and a YouTube, but they're like, wait, I have no time for this. And I also should hire a VA, but my business is living in my head and I have no idea how to communicate this to another person. And freedom is such a big value of mine, just personally. And I really do feel like systems give you that freedom to be able to start to expand your business and to take on more without necessarily taking up more time on your calendar or taking up more energy throughout your day. And it just makes running your business easier, because what I've seen is people start to really lose their passion for their business when they hit this part. And they're like, wait, why did I quit my 9 to 5 to now work 24/7? Like, this is so stressful. And that's the last thing we, thought would happen when we started our business. We were dreaming of, way better days and the freedom in life and the ease and the money. And, systems really help bring that back. And so where I think you can really start with systems is, I always say, start with the messiest part of your business, or the part that's taking the most time. A lot of times I see this piece be content. Content just, is a very time consuming process, and it's something that you are always going to have to make. It's like you're kind of on the hamster wheel when you're creating content, because even if you have a podcast, that's more evergreen, but you still have to be putting out new episodes every week or however often. And so really trying to systemize, streamline that. And another step you can also take is with client onboarding. I feel like if you are really trying to scale, if you can have an automated client onboarding system, this can help you so much with just creating more space in your business and your client capacity, as well as helping with your selling. It just makes it so much easier to actually make sales and provide such a great experience for your clients. So I know we said one, but I gave kind of two areas depending on what you feel like is the messiest part of your business.
Yeah, well, that's such a good thing, because I think it's really individual, isn't it, to you in business and what's going on, as to where you should focus first. And I love that you asked it as a question, like, where is the messiest part of your business right now? Where is it feeling the heaviest or the most manual? Like, maybe you're doing your whole onboarding via email and you're manually sending them things and getting it back and saving it into files. So I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. And the first one is, do you have, like, usually we're looking at systems. I'm thinking straight away, like, what can technology do, right? How can we replace manual processing with technology? Is that where you start, or are you mapping out a process and kind of getting it to be like, well, let's processize this first so that you actually have a streamlined process, and then see how you can remove the manual pieces? What is your approach to the system in the first place?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I love this. For me, it's really the first step with any system is getting clarity around what you are even doing. This is a step I think a lot of people skip, and they're like, oh, let me go set up this 10-step automation. But if there's no clear system in place or clear process, it's going to be very, very hard to automate anything. It's going to be very hard to actually set up any streamlined process for it, because we have no foundation that we're really working off of. And it's always going to seem like there's an error, or, it's just not flowing right. So I always recommend getting clarity. And even that's starting with brain dumping your process onto a Google Doc, and then, mapping it out. I love using tools like Whimsical or Lucid Chart, where you can really go in and you can, have the little boxes and the arrows and draw out, step one is this step, if we're talking about client onboarding, for example, step one is, maybe you're talking in the DMs to someone, or they book a call with you, however your lead process works. And then step two, I'm sending them a payment link through a checkout tool. And then step three, I need to send them a contract, and then I need to send them an onboarding form and a call scheduler. And once you have that process mapped out, then you can go back and look at it from a bird's eye view and say, okay, what tools do I need to actually be able to, what tools am I sending a contract through? What tools am I using to schedule calls and send forms and, take payments? And then how can I go ahead and automate some of this? So maybe if someone's paying me through a Thrivecart checkout link, and then I'm sending a contract through Dubsado, which is a CRM tool. Okay, well, maybe I can connect that with a Zap where once they pay, they're automatically sent the contract. And then once they sign the contract, they're automatically sent the scheduler, and then they're automatically sent the onboarding form with the welcome email and the next steps. And so it becomes so much easier to really create the actual flow when you're able to see the entire process up front.
I agree. And do you have any specific technology platforms that you sort of like your go-to tools? Or is it more like I need to see what the business needs and then apply technology that's going to be the best fit for the business? Like I'm just curious as to if there are some that you're like, yes, we definitely need some kind of, I don't know, whether it's project management like Asana or Trello. You mentioned Dubsado. I know that for definitely service-based businesses that do done-for-you services, that seems to be one of the top ones that a lot of people use. But, it's very full-featured. Do people need all of that? What's your approach when it comes to plugging in the technology that it's going to help make the systems happen?
I very much take the approach of like, I don't work for a tools marketing team. So I'm not someone that's going to be like, you have to use Dubsado or you have to use Asana or ClickUp, because I think we are all so different, right? Like how we approach technology and our personalities and how we run our business, and then what your business actually does need. It really changes and varies from client to client. I've worked with such a wide variety of clients, from lawyers to contractors, like, house construction contractors, to online coaches and marketing agencies. And they have all used different tools depending on, what they like and what their preferences are and what kind of features they need. And so for me, I'm really adapting the tools stack to the business and making sure that is really aligned depending on the features. But of course, I also have my, go-to tools that I use in my own business. I do think, every business should have some sort of project management tool where your business is living. This is like your business home. And I personally use ClickUp, but I have clients who use Asana and Notion and Trello. And that works for them because the system really only works if you actually use it. And so there's no point in going and trying to, use some complex tool that you can't really figure out, and then you never even want to open it at the beginning, end of the day and use it, because then it's just a waste, right? Yeah. So whatever tool you really want to use, and whether that is something maybe you can take on the challenge of learning, that's also great. But I think really, really just keeping in mind that there are so many tools out there. I always say it's like the cereal aisle. There's so many cereals. Everyone has their favorite for whatever reason, depending on their taste buds. But it doesn't mean that like one cereal is objectively better than another cereal. And it's the same with tools. Like they were all built for a different reason, and they have their own features that make them different from each other. So really just looking at what your business needs and the features you need and the tools that you're actually going to use is going to get you so much farther than trying to stick to one specific tool stack that you see maybe me use or someone else on the internet.
Yeah, because there can be just so much time spent changing platforms, or like, I think I need to be on that platform. It's like, well, it's not quite as easy as just signing up for an account and starting, because if you've already got stuff in another platform, then the migration headache can be enormous. 100%. So yeah, I love that you said that. Maybe the tools you're already using, when you're already familiar with them, can do the right thing for you, but maybe it's more about understanding how to utilize that tool better, like what it can integrate with and what you can actually do with it, maybe that you're not currently doing right now, which I'm sure there's so much. Like I think, well, I use quite a few of those. I use Asana. I'm sure I'm not using all of the things that it can do.
I mean, are we all?
But it's so funny because I think it's like finding out your own idiosyncrasies as well and what you do. And I would have to put my hand up and say I am not great at using Asana. I put things in there for my team, but then I'm not great at going in and doing the tasks that might be in there for me. So for me, I'm like, no, you just have to Slack me. If I don't see that as a message on my phone, literally with the thing that you need, then I'm just not seeing it. So don't put it in a comment in Asana. And I know that's not how Asana is meant to work, But it's just like, I know for me that just isn't going to work. So my team have to figure out how to work with me as well.
Well, that's your system, you know. That's your system, and your team is just adapting to you. I've had many clients like that as well, especially when I was an online business manager, where they just didn't want to look at the project management tool. That's why I was hired as an online business manager, to be the one looking at the project management tool and making sure the team was doing what they needed. And then I would communicate, with the CEO via Slack, via video call, whatever. Oh, here's what's actually going on. Here's the updates, everything like that.
Yeah, it's so funny. But good. And I think that's the thing. It's like there's no kind of perfection there. There's no real right or wrong. It's just like, making the system work for you. Now, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make with systems, with technology? Maybe they're like, oh, I've been doing it all manually. Now I'm going all in on systems. So what are some of the things that people, what should we try to avoid doing once we decide we're going all in on the system?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes can just be going too fast and too all in too fast. And I mean, we can do this with so many areas of our business, right? Like I see this all the time with content. Like I go from posting 0 times on Instagram to 5 times a week. And this is going to be it. And we do this with systems as well, where we're like, oh my God, systems are great. I want to automate everything. And I think people get this idea in their head of, oh, then I will never have to actually do anything in my business again. I will never have to do anything manually again. And that's just not the case, because then what ends up happening is we really kind of adapt this perfectionism mindset of, well, I can't build this perfect system that, that allows me to never, talk to a client during the onboarding process again, or create a piece of content from scratch again. Then I either will avoid systems completely because I don't know how to do this, and then I will just avoid it out of I don't have the time to go learn and I can't build the perfect system. Or B, we will constantly have this shiny object syndrome, which we kind of alluded to earlier, where we will constantly be like, oh, we see a new platform, we see a new ad, we see a new tool or a new system that someone else is using. And we're always changing and trying to adapt our systems, and not adapting from the place of, oh, we're just optimizing one thing here and there. It's we're moving platforms. We're trying to automate things that don't necessarily need to be automated yet. I see this a lot as well with clients, which would be another mistake, is trying to automate everything in your business can really just cause a lot of errors to happen, especially when you're trying to add in these automations you don't necessarily need yet because you see other people have them. For example, like the ManyChat DM automations. This is something that is super popular right now. And I do think it has a time and a place in your business. If you have a lot of followers, if you're getting a lot of DMs and you're like, I can't keep up with all this, great. That is a tool that you need. But then I see people who have, just a few thousand followers, they're not really getting many DMs anyway. For me, my business, I don't need an automation tool because I can manually answer all the DMs I get pretty easily within, 20, 30 minutes a day. So that I feel like we're like, oh, we need this tool because it will almost make it seem like I'm getting more leads and this and that. When in reality, for me, I want to focus on building a connection with my audience. The priority here is making sure that I'm talking to my audience and having this connection as I'm growing my audience. And eventually, if I get to that point where I'm like, okay, a DM tool would be so great, I will implement that. But for now, really kind of identifying what your priority is and what's going to help you in the long run when it comes to automations, that will really help you decide, okay, is this an automation of like, I just want this because I see that people are talking about how I need it? Or is this something that's actually going to save me time and also provide a better experience for the other person, for the client or the lead, where they can, maybe take steps without having to wait for me?
That's such a good point. And I think, what you said with the shiny object and like, oh, I need to have something because it's there and I've heard someone else has it. I think that you can really quickly get into a place where you've just suddenly grown this gigantic tech stack. You've got all of these different
trials everywhere.
Oh my God. And like you're a one-person business with a couple of VAs or something, and you've got 30 different tech platforms.
I've seen it.
I mean, and that's not even crazy. Like I'm pretty sure I probably was that person at some point when I first started, because I was like, oh, I need this plugin and I need that one and all of these things. And I think back then I was on WordPress and it was a bit like that. You needed to have all these different plugins, and it just got to the point where I started to feel overwhelmed by technology. And I'm someone who I would have called myself fairly tech savvy. Like, I know how to code a little bit. I used to build websites in Dreamweaver back in the day. Like, I can read.
Yeah, you're there. You're there.
Okay, I'm all right. I've got some skills, but I was getting overwhelmed by all of these platforms. I'm like, okay, what's connecting to what? And I've got Zapier and I've got Zaps going and I've got all these things happening. And it was like, it's just too much. Like, I've just gone, even though they all had a purpose and they all seemed to make sense at the time logically, it's like, yeah, there's a purpose and a reason for having this. It was interesting to get to that point and to feel like instead of them feeling like they're supporting me, they were actually doing the dead opposite and overwhelming me with all of these different pieces of technology and stuff in all these different systems and needing to use them all. It was a mistake, I think, that I definitely made. And then I made the choice to scale back and go, right, I'm streamlining technology into as few different platforms as possible. And so I was making choices more based on, well, what can I use that actually ticks off a lot of boxes and it is more, a bit more all-in-one type of platform. So I made quite a few choices based on that to reduce the tech stress, I would say, that I had simply from just having too many things that were going on. So I'm sure that you've seen that a lot as well. One thing that I wanted to ask you, you're talking about automating and how people like wanting to automate so much that they're almost over automating. And I think that this is interesting because I was talking to a client this morning and she was afraid of automating her business and being like, I don't want to be a person that's seen as a robot, AI, or it's all automated. And I think that there's like this negative perception out there about automating that it can lead to it being non-personable. And I want to just share that with you and open up the floor to talk about that for a minute, because I kind of have some different views on it, in that I believe automation doesn't have to be non-personal. It can still be personal, but there can also be automation in there. But I'd love to just get your perspective on that fear that people have of automating and what they're trying to avoid, but then they're also then staying stuck in this manual zone because of it. So let's open that question. Sorry, I'm not sure what the question is, but tell me what you think.
I'm already like, I have so many thoughts on this. Of course, I hear this a lot as well, where it's like, I don't want to be a robot. Like, I feel like it's like a disgenuine thing, automations, and people can't reach me. And I think, we've all kind of had this experience, especially nowadays, especially if you've been on a tech tool support chat and you're like trying to ask a question and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question, ask again. And you're like, can I just speak to a real person? And so I think this fear is kind of coming from these experiences where we're like, it used to be so easy to speak to someone and get help, and now it feels like there's all these roadblocks and walls that are in our way before we can speak to a real person. And I do understand like the perception. You want to be, have this connection with your audience. You don't want to be perceived as this AI robot, automated business. And at the same time, I truly believe that automation actually opens up the space for you to be more personal and have more genuine, intentional touch points with your audience, because you're not spending all of your time doing manual things that your audience really doesn't care if you are doing it or an automation is doing it. And I think client onboarding is the perfect example of this, where people get really stuck in. I even had a client who was like, I don't like using a call scheduler because I don't want other people to, I like to go back and forth and decide on a call time. And I'm like, at the end of the day, that is so inefficient, not only for you, but for your client as well. If I'm trying to book a call with someone, I like to be able to just go into a call scheduler and pick the time that works for me.
Exactly.
Not look at my call schedule, not look at my calendar and be like, oh, like what day, what times, and then hopefully you're free as well. And then you're going back and forth. And it's with client onboarding, like first example, taking a payment, sending a contract, sending a form, scheduling a call. These things your client does not necessarily care if you are sending a contract or Dubsado workflow is sending a contract, because the contract is not the main point of working together, right? Yeah. And what I always say with clients is, if you can automate your client onboarding, especially all of these pieces that have to happen for every single client that you are working with, or even if you're selling digital products or courses, you have these really, really clean onboarding process where your client does not have to wait on you at the end of the day. They can take the next step when they are ready, when they are like, okay, I have time to sit down and fill out this form and, schedule this call and stuff, but they're not waiting on you to send that. They already have that. They already feel so much more empowered to work with you and to really take these steps on their own time. And when you aren't worrying about, oh, when am I going to go send this contract? I forgot I need to send this onboarding form, blah, blah, blah. Then you have the space to say, send the checkout link, they can pay, and then you can send a voice message that says, hey, I'm so excited to work with you. Like, you will get everything in your email. Let me know if you have any questions. Like, this gives you so much more space to really have more intentional touch points where you're sending voice messages or you're sending, maybe a free gift or something like this. This is a little client onboarding, I guess, hack that I love to share is if you can set up an automation that is sending like a, surprise gift to your clients. I had some clients who were coaches who every time after someone paid for the first, payment, they would send a free digital journal. And they were like, I'm so excited to start working with you. Here's a journal you can go ahead and start working on right now because, we have 1 or 2 weeks maybe until our first session even. And you also have access to all of our materials in, Kajabi or wherever you host course platforms. Like, this can really, really elevate your clients' excitement, right? Like, you're like, oh, wow, that's so thoughtful. That's so nice. And I'm so excited. And then they can send a voice note. Hey, did you get the journal? Like, we're so excited. Go ahead, start filling it out. This is going to really be like the foundations for our first call, and we'll reflect on these. It creates this space to really, really tap into the connection piece instead of only worrying about the admin piece.
Yes. No, I love that. And I am a massive fan of using automations for those kind of things because, like you say, as soon as someone signs up and pays, I might be off with the kids somewhere. I might be, who knows, where, and I would never want someone to feel like, hello, or have to email me and say, hey, I've just paid. Exactly. I'm like, no, I want that email straight in their inbox. Like, hooray, welcome, congratulations. Here are the first steps. Here's what I need. Here's what you need to know. So yeah, I agree. I think that is where automation actually provides a really great experience. So anybody who's worried about automation feeling robotic, it actually doesn't ever, I don't think, to the client, it doesn't feel impersonal because the first thing is like you personalize it, right? So you've got their name, that's true. Filled in the form, and the email says, hey Sam, welcome. You're like, well, it's sent to me. It's not saying hey everyone or hey all or whatever. It is personal, even though it hasn't been written in that very moment by you. But yeah, I so agree. That's such a great example of where automation is a massive time saver, but so importantly, it's the customer experience, and that is a critical time. I think the other place people get really concerned about it is with content. And you mentioned content is the other key area that, is where people look to first start putting a system in place, just because it is a heavy workload. If you're doing it all manually and all in the time that you're, real time, then your content may feel inconsistent and it may feel like a chore, and a system could help to reduce that. So what are some of the ways that you see automation, or maybe it's not so much automation, but even a system, really come into play with content that can take the heavy lifting away from you, make it feel better and more streamlined without, I think the thing that people are trying to avoid is they're like, well, I don't want it to feel like it's not me or it's not relevant at this time. And, there's so many things that people know what they don't want that they're trying to avoid, which is keeping them in the manual. But I think that you can kind of have have your cake and eat it too. I think you can achieve the good things and have a system, but I'd love to hear how you would approach that.
Yeah, I think with content especially, people are really, really in the mindset of like, I am the best at writing my own content, which I'm not arguing with this. You probably are. It's your business. Like, it's your clients. Like, you probably are the best at writing your own content. That is true. But it can also be true that you do have help and support. And so recently I actually had a systems intensive where we deep dive into, the systems in your business and with a client. And this was really solely focused on content. And what we did was, she really had this mindset of she wanted to maintain a lot of control over what was going out and how the content was being written and stuff like this. But she also kind of wanted the idea of, don't want to really be creating content all the time. I don't want to have to create content every single week. And I want to use a bit more automation, or I have a VA. I want to utilize my VA more and stuff like that. So that can be very hard to balance because it's almost like two sides, kind of the angel and the devil on your shoulder. Like, no, we need to let go. No, we need to hold on, And when we talk about building a system with this, what I always start with is, what even is your content creation process in general? Like, how are you even going about creating a piece of content? What probably have an idea and then you're writing a caption and then you're recording a reel. I mean, there's no set right process. It's very personal, I think, to each person. But getting super clear, what is your process that you're actually going through? And then what parts of this process do you actually need to be doing as the CEO or as like the owner of the business or the content creator? And what I tend to find with clients is that they think that they need to be doing a lot more of the process than they actually do. And so with this client, for example, what we identified was she actually really only needs to be in the ideation phase and maybe the writing or outlining the caption phase because she still wants to maintain that control. But then her VA could be the person that is creating, graphics through Canva. Her VA could be the person that is creating reels through B-roll that she has previously recorded and just uploaded into a Google Drive and putting the text on the reels and finding the trending audios and stuff like that. Her VA could be the one who is, maybe she's recording, talking to the camera reels or content, and her VA is the one who is actually doing the video editing and editing out any pauses or editing it all together and creating the covers. And then she's just the one that is reviewing everything at the end. So what we ended up doing was breaking it down into 3 cycles of, we have the ideation cycle, we have the creation cycle, and then third, we have like the review, schedule, feedback, posting cycle. And this allowed us to really see, okay, if we can ideate 9 to 12 pieces of content in 1 week, well, then she can kind of have a week off of where the VA is creating it the next week. And then all she has to do the 3rd week is review it and make any revisions and stuff like that. So it almost felt like, oh, for me to only think of and maybe write captions for 9 to 12 posts a week, I can do that 1 to 2 times a month. That's really not going to take me that long, maybe, 2 to 3 hours, but it really taking the weight off of like the creation piece and more of that heavy lifting. And where you really can start to see with automation and stuff like that, if you want to start to add that in there, I mean, using your scheduling features on your tools, like that is automation, and people shy away from that a lot. But I think this can be really useful for you, especially if you are not posting because you're not creating content and you're like, oh, I just am forgetting to go post, or I don't, you're creating content last minute. Scheduling the content out can be a useful tool for you, especially at first. Or if you want to start repurposing your content, really, really looking at that from the beginning. If you have an idea that you are creating a post on, when you're doing the ideation phase, looking at, okay, maybe I can go ahead and repurpose this to an email and a podcast episode and, maybe actually 2 to 3 other posts, and just doing that up front. And then what you can do is then add the VA into there later on, where if you have a post that you're repurposing to an email, maybe you're just writing the subject line and telling the VA, hey, I want to also use this as an email. Can you expand on it a bit? And then like upload it into the scheduler for our email marketing tool, right? So there are so many ways that you can really start to break down your process and then add in help, especially if you do want to maintain a lot of that control. And when it comes to automation with content, there are so many tools that you can use. I know for me, I record my podcast on Riverside, and inside Riverside, there's a little button that says create magic clips. And then you click it and it's AI and it creates 5 to 10 clips from the podcast. And I can go in and, edit them and download them. And that's a great feature. You also have other tools that are separate from this. If you're recording a podcast on Zoom, you can upload it and it will create these magic clips for you. You also have tools like repurpose.io, which is a repurposing tool that will automatically post your content to multiple platforms if that's something you're interested in as well. So there are definitely tools out there that you can start to use, but really, again, you want to have that clear process first of what you actually need to be doing, and then looking at where you can add in automation or outsource parts of the process just to start to take some tasks off of your plate.
Yeah, definitely. There's many tips in what you just said. So I hope you have a pen out, writing them down if content creation is something that you're struggling with, and, thinking about, how you can utilize your VA. I really relate to that client you mentioned about, she wanted to retain control of the words and what was being said, because, she obviously wanted it in her voice. And this is something I feel very strongly about. Having, over the years, I'd tried having people write some content for me, or tried me starting it, and they would then take it. And it was I just always felt like I needed to edit it again. So, it's kind of like I had to go through that, I think, to decide what it was that would work best for me or not. But at the end of that, I came up with, well, okay, once I've written one and we've posted it, I don't need to do the posting. I don't need to do the graphic creation or anything. I literally can just write the caption. But I got my VA to start a content library. So every post that we created is then in a content library. And it's now at the point where it's so enormous, I would never run out of content. Or, there's so much in there that I can go back through, and anytime I'm like, okay, I want to do, I feel like talking about X, Y, Z, whatever it is, I might have something new that I'm always thinking of new stuff. I'm always creating something new, but the point is I don't have to. If I've already got it in the library and my brain isn't working and I'm not feeling very creative about what I want to say about it, I just say, hey, let's do some posts about this week. Can you go in and find some that you think are relevant? And my VA will go into the library that she created, and she'll pull out the posts and send them to me and be like, hey, what about these ones? So all I have to do is go, yeah, I like that one, or actually I want to change something on that, or I don't like how I said that anymore. Maybe I like but that just saves so much time, and it actually makes it fast and easy for all of us, because she has the content already there as well. So it's just a matter of reposting it. And for me, that's been something I think has been a really good, easy thing to create, which isn't actually automated. It's just a system we put in place. And, she was storing the posts in a library, but now that that's there, it's like, what a time saver.
It's an asset in your business, because you're not starting from scratch all the time, or at least you feel like you don't have to, right? I think that's the biggest thing with content. We always feel like we have to create something new, or we're starting from zero. But when you have these assets, like an entire library of content, it really feels like, oh, well, no, I can like you said, pull this idea and maybe now I want to say it a different way, but that doesn't take very long. That's way less energy, because you're starting at 5 instead of 0.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I do have to ask a question about AI, because I think that's been coming up, and I even saw someone post maybe about a week ago that they had an AI bot for customer onboarding, and they were loving it, and their customers were loving it. And I was like, what? Okay, what is this? Oh my God, there's another thing. But I'm not about to just run away and undo all the systems I've already built. However, it is, it's interesting because AI is very new still, and obviously everybody's still experimenting with it. Is there anything that comes to mind as wow, there is definitely some value to be gained by using AI in a particular way when it comes to systems? Are there any magic magic solutions,
magic pills?
Yes, yeah. If you know any, I think that would be a really cool.
Absolutely. I think AI is an amazing tool, right? Like it's so crazy. Like I think 10 years ago, we could have never, I mean, obviously AI existed, but like we could have never imagined the actual use of it that it's becoming today. But that being said, it also, like you said, it is still very, very new. And I feel like every tool nowadays has some AI feature. Like even my project management tool, I use ClickUp. They rolled out AI in ClickUp and I see it everywhere. And I'm kind of like, I don't even know what I would really use AI and ClickUp for, but okay, cool. Like very cool. Maybe I will use it someday. Maybe there are some cool hacks that people are using out there. And I think with AI, my approach to it is utilize it where you can specifically see a need or a gap filled that you cannot fill yourself or with other types of automation. Because it's so new, there is still so much room for error. And I know for me, like when it comes to content, and people are talking about, oh, well, ChatGPT can just write your posts and write your emails. For me personally, I can tell, like, if someone is posting a post that's written by ChatGPT or an email, not all the time, obviously, because maybe they're editing it and they're making it sound more, they have special ChatGPT hacks where they're putting in all this information. But I think we are kind of getting to the point where we can see, oh, wait, I feel like this was written by ChatGPT. Like, and we're kind of like, oh, for me, I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of want to stop reading. Like, I don't even really want to read anymore.
Yeah.
But where I use AI in my business is really with like my podcast editing tool. It has a lot of AI features where it writes show notes and it, utilizes the magic clips. It even has like AI editing where it can go out and edit all of your ums. That being said, is it perfect every single time? No, like I still need to edit the show notes. I still need to check the magic clips where to make sure that it's actually saying something that I want to, post on the internet. And this is the thing is I think you can utilize it for maybe 50% or 75% of the process, but it's still at the place where we do have to go in and edit it. And with the example of this client onboarding bot, I'm sure it works like 75% of the time, but I can also see instances where it doesn't work and they still have to probably go in manually and help the person and, maybe fix any errors or stuff like that. And so when it comes to AI, I think if you have, tools that have AI in them, you can utilize those. Another one that I use a lot is Loom. Like for screen recording, I record a lot of Loom videos. I've saved, probably 100,000 meetings at this point in my life, but it has AI where it will, write the AI description and write the AI title. Yeah. It does a pretty good job. Like I would say 80-90% of the time, it's great. It does the AI transcripts. Amazing. Like these are tools where I'm like, okay, this is useful for me. I can utilize this. But when it comes to, really, really leaning into AI and trying to use AI to maybe solve a problem that really isn't a problem or that doesn't really exist, I'm kind of like, it's really probably only going to cause more confusion and overwhelm in the long run.
No, I think that's very, very wise. Great advice there. Like, if it has if you've got a problem and AI could be a really good solution for it, then go in. But we don't need to be using AI just because it's there, just because it exists. Exactly. I saw it today, actually. I was in Asana creating a task for my VAs, which, of course, I won't go in and do anything on again. But but I was in there and it's like it wanted to create the subtask for me. And I was like, well, how do you know what I want the subtask to be?
Exactly.
So, I didn't test it out because I was in a hurry, but maybe I should next time to be
That's funny.
Well, show me what you think.
Yeah, maybe it'll give you something that you're forgetting.
Yeah, maybe I should see. It could be smarter than me. You never know. One day.
Honestly.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, this has been such a great chat, Sam. Is there anything that you wanted to leave us with in terms of a final takeaway, your hottest tip, or something that you wish you could have said to your past self about systems that you'd like to end us out with?
Yeah, I think really the biggest tip I can share is just to start that systems will always be a work in progress. It's like personal development or something, it's more about the journey than about the actual end goal, I guess. But I think people really get overwhelmed with systems on both ends is that, they're really trying to have this finished final thing that they never have to touch again. And just switching your mindset of, focusing on just building like the foundational system that you need. Like what is the thing you need kind of right now, and that can carry you on for the next 6 months or the next year, and that you can really grow with and optimize as you grow your business as well. That really comes from just starting to dabble in some tools, starting to get clear on what your process is, starting to implement things here and there, and that will compound and that will grow. So don't feel like you have to jump into systems and systemize everything and have, 50-step complex automation to, have this perfect systems. Keeping it simple is really going to get you so much farther in the long run. Because if you, like you were saying, when you have so many different tools and systems, if it would take you an hour to just explain to me what's happening behind the scenes of your business, it's probably too complicated, right? We just keeping it as simple as possible and just starting to take action and implement things as you go and as you can will get you a lot farther than not taking action at all.
Yeah, I love that. Simple, always best, right? Because you get yourself caught up in the tangled web of your own systems and not be able to find your way out. That's probably not ideal.
I know.
Oh, so good. Thank you, Sam. Now, where do you hang out on social media? Where can people find you if they are like, I need to speak to this systems girl more?
It's super easy. It's Systems with Sam. I'm mostly on Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Sam Whisnant. And I would love to chat. My DMs are always open. I mostly hang out on Instagram. So feel free, send me a voice note. Let me know if you like the episode. Let me know what you're struggling with, and I can try to help as much as possible.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. I will make sure that those are all hooked up in the show notes, so you can just click straight through and find Sam on Instagram or LinkedIn, wherever you prefer to hang out. So thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate your time hanging out with us today and having a really fun chat about systems. So I appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope we made systems a little bit sexier today and people are more into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure we did. We definitely had a lot of fun talking about it. Thank you, Sam.